Alright, so I'm making this video today because I'm always hearing people talking about the Rolex AD and how it's impossible to get Rolex at the AD, and complaining about the system that these ADs use to distribute Rolex watches. And a quick recap, what that system is: the demand for Rolex watches is way higher than the supply. So naturally, ADs are going to try to take advantage of this opportunity and maximize their profits by selling Rolex watches to people who can spend money at the AD. For example, someone like me, I'm not in a position to spend money at an AD. I'm not buying their jewelry. I'm not buying, IWCs and Breitlings and things like that. I can't do that. So I'm not really an ideal candidate for a Rolex watch. Okay, I'm just kind of hoping that one day my guy at the AD feels bad for me, or just has some kindness in his heart and wants to sell a Rolex to somebody who is genuinely going to love it, which is me. That is me, and I won't sell it. But there are thousands of people like me, and a lot of those people would sell it. Okay, I'm not one of them, but a lot of people would. Seeing the amount of money that you can make simply by flipping the watch, I mean, you can't blame people for being tempted by that. ADs know this, obviously, and it's up to them to discern who the serious buyers are, who the real collectors are, and the people who are not gonna flip their watches. And I actually have no problem with this system. The only other valid alternative system that I can think of is if ADs literally took a list of people for each watch. So you go into the AD and you register your interest, and you basically take a number like you do at a deli counter. It obviously wouldn't be as crass as just a little ticket with a number on it. You'd get like a nice letter and an email or whatever, but it would have a number on it. And let's say you're number 460 for the Pepsi GMT, or number 503 for the Panda Daytona. When it gets to 503, you will get the call for the Panda Daytona. Okay, if that takes 8 years, that's the way it is. And so that would be a valid system for getting people the watch that they want, but it doesn't maximize the AD's profits, because you just have a bunch of people on a list just for the sake of it, just because why not? Those people are not going to be buying things in the meantime. In those 8 years that it takes to get the call for the Panda Daytona, those people are not going to be in the AD spending money. So that system doesn't really work for the AD. It works for us, but it doesn't really work for them. And so I understand why ADs are not just selling Rolexes to people like me. I get it. So all that being said, how do you get the Rolex of your dreams? Well, it's very simple in my opinion, and that is screw Modern Rolex. Okay, forget about Modern Rolex. Put your name on a list at an AD and just forget about it. Okay, if you get the call in a year or 2 years, great, go buy it. But in the meantime, buy pre-ceramic Rolex or vintage Rolex for a number of reasons. First and foremost, you can't get Modern Rolex, so these are the Rolexes that are available. These are the Rolexes that you can get. So that's number one. Number two is buying pre-ceramic or vintage Rolex is so much more gratifying than buying Modern Rolex. Buying Modern Rolex is just going into a store and buying a current production model that everybody else has. Your Batman GMT is the exact same Batman GMT that this guy has. It's just a cookie cutter watch, and there's nothing special about Modern Rolex, to be honest with you. I mean, I love and respect Modern Rolex, but it does not have the same character as vintage Rolex or pre-ceramic Rolex. It just doesn't. Okay, I'm saying it here now. Modern Rolex is great, but it does not have the character of pre-ceramic Rolex. It just doesn't. So not only will your watch have way more character, but the buying process of this pre-ceramic Rolex is way more gratifying, okay? Because everybody's gonna have a different set of criteria for the watch that they want. For me, I needed unpolished and box and papers. Those were really the big two criteria for me. And that narrows down my search by a lot. And so for me to eventually have found it is amazing. It's so much more satisfying than buying a ceramic sub or a current 42mm Explorer 2 or a modern Pepsi or another GMT. You really have to hunt for this watch. It's not gonna happen by just going online and searching Rolex GMT and buying the first model. You really have to do your research. You have to know about the details that are important to you, but also important to Rolex collecting in general. Like box and papers, like authentic or aftermarket parts, servicing, service history, you know, all these little things like patina, tritium, all these factors that are really important, some more than others for different people. And what you end up with is almost a tailor-made watch for you. You know, your 1994 Datejust is not going to be the same as this guy's 1972 Datejust. They're both Datejusts, but they're gonna look completely different. They're gonna have their own character and their own specifications that owner loves and adores. I mean, these watches age and they become more beautiful with age, like a fine wine, okay? And you don't get that with modern Rolex. You just don't. You get it with pre-ceramic and vintage Rolex. And that is why I believe the best money is in pre-ceramic and vintage Rolex. You're going to be satisfied longer term with those watches. I've owned a ceramic sub and I've owned a modern Explorer 2. Those are the two modern Rolexes that I've owned. And yeah, they were cool. Like they were both Rolexes and they were great, but they didn't have that it factor that the pre-ceramics do, and especially not the it factor that this has. I mean, this is just so perfect for me. This is exactly what I want. And now that I have the bezels for it, and I have the Jubilee bracelet and the Oyster bracelet, I mean, I'm in love. And you can't get this with modern Rolex. You just can't. So that's how you get the Rolex of your dreams. You put your name on a list at an AD and then go buy pre-ceramics. Okay, and if you get the call for a modern Rolex, go buy it. But in the meantime, you're having a great time hunting and searching and just going down this awesome pre-ceramic Rolex journey. So let me know what you think, and until next time, peace out.